I was in training for my commercial pilot license for the last 3.5 years, and today I got to take up my first passengers for the very first time. My parents were just as nervous as I was. I knew that I was more than qualified to take up my parents on this DA40NG, but I also knew that it would take a great responsibility. I can't remember being that nervous for my first solo flight or even check flights. This was the first time no one would ever take a look at my flight planning, fuel planning or weather briefing. No one would sit next to me to be here to help in case I missed something. But also the feeling of chartering an aircraft and taking it anywhere you want and can afford is just a great feeling of freedom. So here we are on my first ever passenger flight.
Fuel pump on. Wir zahlen die ganze Piste, wir benutzen die ganze Piste.
Oh.
So.
The flight would take us from Linz Airport, my hometown located in the north of Austria, to Vilshofen Airport, located just a few minutes east of the Austrian border. Unfortunately, on the first leg, the camera overheated. Yes, it was really that hot. The DA40 is a great aircraft, but the cabin is more or less a glass house. And on days like this, with 30 degrees outside air temperature, it can cause a great deal of fatigue for both equipment and passengers. The flight to Vilshofen was quite turbulent anyway. Flying into the sun, the view was hampered by the harsh lighting. After the first leg, my parents were quite exhausted. We ate dinner and then flew back to Austria.
Is it ready, Ole?
Ready.
Fast. Ready. Roger. Okay. Runway checked, time checked, takeoff. Takeoff set, engine instruments checked.
Oh.
Bitte Mama, ist leise, gell? Airspeed alive. Ein bisschen Wind von links haben wir jetzt. Wenn der Flieger fliegen will, lass mal fliegen. Er will fliegen. Rotate.
The airport of Vilshofen would close at 7 p.m. local time. We departed at 6:45. During the first part of the flight, the sun hid behind thick clouds and the turbulence was gone. In fact, cruising 1,000 feet higher than before, at 5,500 feet, meant that it was a lot smoother during the whole flight.
Schauen, dass wir nicht über Häuser rüberfliegen.
Radio Delta Echo Vital Oscar, hallo.
Links Vilshofen. So, machen wir gleich einen Großcheck.
Aber ohne Kamera.
Up, fuel pump off, klein Inlet off. On the climb power. This set.
We got at 20 knots of tailwinds and we're cruising along at 150 knots or 280 kilometers per hour ground speed.
Die da pumpe jetzt gerade Sprit vom rechten Tank in den linken Tank rüber. Open-Sam ist ja genau da vorne, also ist links da.
Links schon, Böstlingberg auch schon sehen. Da links ist der Böstlingberg. Das ist der Böstlingberg Kirchen schon.
After only 18 minutes of flight time, we started with our VFR descent. I talked to Linz Tower if it was possible to do a sightseeing flight over Linz before landing back in our home base.
Sehr ruhig ist jetzt, gell? Das ist angenehm.
Total ruhig. Richtig schön.
Böstlingberg mir nicht gesagt.
Between Linz Tower, I was also talking to Linz Ost, a glider grass strip, for traffic information. As the aerodrome was already closed, I checked back in with Linz Tower. He then immediately cleared me for a direct approach to runway 26. Even though I was expecting an approach via sector north and was actually still planning to fly further north for some sightseeing over my house, I was happy about that offer. A direct approach is always fun, it saves time and money. So I flew a base leg overhead Linz towards the Traun River. I constantly asked my parents if they were able to see the runway because I wasn't. Then I just figured that it had to be an extension of the highway towards the airport we drove on, and I found it. Good old VFR navigation technique. Of course, if I wouldn't have found it, I would have used the features of the G1000. A few minutes before touchdown, I asked my dad if he had found the runway yet. Obviously, at this point, I was already lined up with the runway and I made a joke.
Gibt schon Runway? Da vorne, danke. Jetzt habe ich nämlich nicht gesehen. Spaß.
As the air was perfectly smooth that day, plus very good visibility, I was coming in with a very high speed in a clean configuration. The approach speed was approximately 140 knots indicated airspeed. This speed is part of the yellow speed band and only possible to fly in perfectly smooth conditions. I told my parents that this is the approximate same speed that an Embraer 195 would approach at, the aircraft I am currently doing my type rating in. The variable pitch constant speed prop is very efficient in slowing the aircraft down when set on idle. It works like a big disc in front of the aircraft. At about 400 feet, I was fully configured and did a perfectly soft landing. Obviously, this is only possible during visual meteorological conditions.
Flaps takeoff.
IFR in instrument meteorological conditions, I am fully configured and stabilized at 1,000 feet above ground level. If not, go around.
Check flaps landing. Final check flaps landing set. Target speed is 80 knots. Final check completed.
All of the passengers clapped after touchdown. Very nice.
Time 1-3, servus und danke für den super Kooperation aus Gecko Kilo Lima.
Bravo.
Merkzeug 13 bitte, 13. Sehr geehrte Damen und Herren, wir sind in Linz angekommen. Außentemperatur ist beträgt 30 Grad, es ist leicht bewölkt und eine leichte Brise aus dem Westen. Wir freuen uns, Sie am nächsten Flug von Linz zu begrüßen zu dürfen.
At the end of the two flights, I was happy about the opportunity I got from the controller to fly directly overhead Linz. My parents enjoyed the smooth flight back home and are looking forward to fly with me again. For me, the most important part is that everyone is safe back home. I didn't have any incidents and felt good throughout the whole flight. Can't wait to get back in the air to share my passion with more of my friends and family. Until the next one, stay safe.
Lockzeit 16 Uhr, 16 nach und Landezeit war 13 nach. Cabin crew, disarm slides, you may open doors.
Aber das ist lässig.
Das war lässig, ja?
Also kein Vergleich mit der Beidlerei da beim Fußliegen.